Welcome to Trapping in the Ozarks, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the art of trapping. That's our little program that we've been putting together, an educational program. And let me kind of explain a little history of kind of where that idea came from. So let's go back to like most of you probably, you learned trapping maybe as a kid or you picked it up later in life. For me, I learned it as a kid. When I was probably 11 or so, I started trapping a little bit with my dad, and went out. He taught me, the basics that he knew. He wasn't a big-time trapper by any means. He was an outdoorsy guy, obviously, hunting and fishing and everything else. And so he taught me what he knew, and I started running the trap line with my dad. And of course, my dad was my hero, my mentor. So I soaked up every bit of knowledge I possibly could from him. By the time I was 12. Don't tell anybody, but in the country you kind of do stuff like this. But I was driving the old farm truck. My dad would let me drive the old beat up farm truck that we would haul hay and stuff in. And I would run my trap lines in the morning before school. And that was 1979 or so, 1980. And fur prices were good then. A lot of people were trapping. So once I got to a point where I thought, I'm catching lots of coons, I'm catching some fox, I'm catching other things. I really wanted to get better at trapping. I caught a few coyotes, but not that many. And coyotes hadn't completely taken over all of the Ozarks at that point in time like they have today. But there were still quite a few coyotes around that you could try to catch. And I was having a hard time catching them, honestly. So I started running the trap line with my neighbors. Some of my neighbors trapped, other people that I trapped. I was just trying to soak up whatever knowledge I could. And this was long before the internet. I mean, still had a party line phone back then. So I started reading Fur Fish and Game, and I started picking up some trapping books from garage sales, and I go to the library and check out some trapping books, and I was just trying to absorb every bit of knowledge that I possibly could so that I could learn to be a good trapper. And as that continued, I started picking up more and more skills, and then eventually, it was like, oh my gosh, there's actually trapping videos on VHS. So then I moved into that. And then as trapping progressed and technology progressed, nowadays we have DVDs, we have YouTube, we still have books, of course. Those are great knowledge of information in books. I'm still a big believer in reading. And then nowadays we even have camps you can go to. There's several guys, Texas and mostly out west, that run camps, trapping camps. 3-day trapping camps where you get to go and they show you everything, and you get to go out on a line and set some traps and try to catch some critters. Excellent source of education. And then you have trapping conventions. You still have DVDs, and then of course obviously there's a ton of forums and things like that. So there's a lot of different varieties, but the trapping camps, those are very limited. Some of the tramps that I'm aware of will have 3 or 4 sessions a year. They're very limited in space on those camps. You maybe have 12 people or so, and they sell out very, very quickly. Most of them range around $1,200, $1,300 range. Plus you got to pay for lodging and you got to get there. So depending on where you live, $1,500 to $2,000 is probably pretty fair. And then, you got travel time, the 3-day camp. You're talking 5 days, probably a minimum. Maybe 6, depending on where you live. So a lot of people can't maybe afford that, or don't want to commit to that, or don't have the time because they have jobs, they have families, they have wives, they have kids, they have lots of other things. So then the other option is just to watch DVDs and YouTube and read books. So my idea was, well, there's got to be something in the middle. There's got to be something that is gives you a little bit more options than just reading books, although I still like to do that, or watching DVDs, although I still do that to this day. And there's got to be something below the camps. So that's how the idea of the Art of Trapping was born. And the way this program, and the way I envision this program, is that it's kind of that in-between. So you get the DVD portion. We got all kinds of digital videos that you can watch and see instruction and see how we do things. And then on top of that, during the trapping season, I'm going to wear like a GoPro camera, and we're going to tape stuff, and you're going to go out and see like semi-live trap line basically. So you'll get to see as everything from us putting the sets in to traps getting dug up, to bad weather and we're not having a hard time catching things, to all the catches. You get to see the good, you get to see the bad, and you'll get to see why we do things the way we do. But there's still no interaction with that. So what we in the Art of Trapping thought of was, well, why don't we have like a weekly group call session where you can group in on a call. You can say, hey, I watched all your videos this week. I have questions about A, B, C, D, E. And most of the time when I've been teaching in the past, you'll run out of questions after maybe 15 minutes or so. But if you're in a group and you've got several people in that group, then there's a lot more questions. And they'll ask questions that you never even thought of. And you're like, oh man, that was a great question. I wish I had thought of that. So it's much more of an educational process. So we really wanted to be somewhere in the middle. So you would get, basically 2 months of videos of us running the trap line. You get a call every week, and then to start off, you'll get even a private one-on-one call where we can talk about your trapping experience, your background, kind of where you want to be, what your goals are, things like that. So you get the private one-on-one, you get all the instruction in the videos that we're going to have up all the time, and then you get the group calls on top of that. So it's kind of that happy medium between just being able to watch DVDs and going to a trapping camp, and it's not that expensive. It's really super inexpensive for what you're going to get, and the hours and hours and hours you'll get, the group calls and everything else. So that's basically the Art of Trapping, kind of where it came from, kind of how it was born, and basically how we want to try to help you so that you can catch all the animals that you want to, and especially canines, because that's kind of where a lot of people struggle sometimes. So our goal is that everybody can catch 75 to 100 coyotes a year if that's what they want to do. So check out the Art of Trapping. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. We'll be happy to answer them. And I'll talk to you soon. Good luck on the trap line.